The NTSB released its preliminary report on the midair between the B-17 and the P-63 King Cobra near Dallas. And as these reports often do, it shed some light on the mishap, and it also generated a bunch of new questions. The most revealing part of the report is that the Air Boss made a call to the performers to maneuver southwest for their next pass, for fighters to go in trail formation, fighters to go in front of the bombers, and fighters to take the 500-foot show line. So let's break this call down because it's an important one. First is the reason the call was made. It'll be important to understand, was the call made because the Air Boss was reinforcing a plan that had already been briefed? Or was the call made because the Air Boss was calling an audible? The airshow industry's learned time and again that audibles elevate risk. Airshow performances are highly choreographed. They're briefed, and it's commonly said that they brief the plan and they fly the brief. So if it was an audible, it'll be important to understand, why was it an audible? Was there something that happened that forced the Air Boss into calling an audible? Or did it result from perhaps a plan that wasn't comprehensive enough? Now, audibles are sometimes necessary. That's why, or part of the reason why, you have an Air Boss. An Air Boss orchestrates the air show, orchestrates it so it remains safe, and also so it flows in sequence for the performance for the crowd. So understanding that call will be important. Understanding why that call was made will be important. And the second thing is, it's interesting that the Air Boss called for the fighters to take the 500-foot line and the bombers to take the 1,000-foot line. That doesn't appear to be what we saw on the tapes. Now, it could be the perspective of the videotapes that we were viewing, but it doesn't look like it. It actually looks like the opposite is happening, that fighters are going to the 1,000-foot line and bombers were headed to the 500-foot line. So if the NTSB report is correct and the Air Boss made that call, it'll be important to understand, was everybody abiding by the Air Boss's call? Did everybody hear the call? Was it acknowledged so that all the players involved could maneuver in accordance with the Air Boss's directive? And then it would have been incumbent upon the fighter flight lead to move his entire formation to deconflict and get in front of the bombers. And then it would have been especially important for number 3, the P-63 King Cobra, to make sure that his flight path was clear and he was rolling out in front of the first bomber. So that'll be something to look at. Again, this call, was it understood by all the players involved and acknowledged? One aspect the preliminary report didn't address is there's a video surfacing around the internet that shows potentially an object impacted the P-63 just before it impacted the B-17. We're hopeful that the NTSB can look at that video and either validate it or discredit it, whichever is appropriate. Either way, it doesn't really explain why the P-63 is floating its turn wider than the fighters in front of it. So it may help shed some light on what went on in the P-63 right before the impact. There's still a question as to why the P-63 was where it was in that piece of sky. There's been a lot of comments and a lot said about altitude deconfliction. Altitude deconfliction isn't always used in air shows. So in air shows, there are 3 primary ways to provide deconfliction. There's lateral show lines like we talked about, and they were using in the 500 and the 1,000-foot show lines. There's sequential separation where one flight comes in before another. They follow each other. And then there's vertical separation. So vertical separation isn't always used. You don't always need all 3 of those as separation. And even when vertical separation is used, it's usually used in reference to a visual pickup. So for example, it will be fighters fly on top of the bombers or fighters higher than the bombers. In any case, they have to make the visual pickup to provide the vertical deconfliction. So in this case, given the P-63 didn't see the B-17, it's not clear that vertical separation would have helped prevent this mishap. Preliminary reports are just that, preliminary, and oftentimes they create a lot of questions, as this one did. So we'll keep you posted on this channel as things develop in this important investigation. Thanks for watching. We have a lot more to learn about this mishap.